So at the end of last year, I made a video about my resolutions for 2022. I said in that video that I think that resolutions are stupid for the most part, because you're setting yourself up for failure and you'll only feel worse if you haven't succeeded by the end of the year, or usually by the end of February. Because then not only have you not achieved your resolution, but you also feel pathetic for not being able to, or for giving up. And then I proceeded to make 10 resolutions, because humans are paradoxical and nobody ever said I was perfect, least of all me. I also said, so I have from the moment this posts until the end of 2022 to achieve all of these goals. Realistically, it shouldn't be too hard, but I'm battling against multiple mental illnesses, probably undiagnosed ADHD, and an extreme fear of both success and failure. Don't ask, it doesn't make sense to me either. And boy oh boy was I right about those battles. This year has been utter garbage, even by my already high standards. I'd say in the list of worst years of my life, it would fall about 4th after 2017, 2020, and 2010. Yes, I have noticed that the gaps between those years seem to be getting progressively shorter chronologically. I'm choosing to ignore it. My job has been incredibly stressful. We're understaffed and overworked, and I've had multiple breakdowns both at work and on my way home and while at home and while in bed. I think I have long COVID because since about March it's felt like I have chronic fatigue syndrome, which is something I've never felt before. I've just been constantly tired all the time, and not in the I need to sleep way, because sleep doesn't help. Nothing shakes it. It's horrible. I'm living through a cost of living crisis, so I haven't been able to afford to do anything since about June, except for the holiday I'd already saved money up for, and even then I barely scraped by with help from my mum and my grandmother. I've had family issues, friend issues, one of my co-workers died, and customers are meaner than they ever have been before. A few months ago, one of our customers came up to the counter to reprimand me for laughing, even though it wasn't stopping me from doing my job, and he said so. I just wasn't allowed to be having fun while doing said job, because apparently I'm not even allowed to enjoy the brief moments of respite anymore. All this is to say, I haven't done much for myself this year, at least not in terms of my long-term goals. Everything I've done for myself this year has been in the short term, because I'd rather spend money and time on something that is going to make me happy immediately, no matter how brief, than continue suffering any longer than I have to just to try to reach a goal I might not even get a hand on. Terry Pratchett's theory of socioeconomic unfairness has been the prevailing theme of the last 6 months, not just with money, but also with my emotions. If you're not familiar, it goes like this. The reason that the rich were so rich, Vimes reasoned, was because they managed to spend less money. Take Boots, for example. He earned $38 a month plus allowances. A really good pair of leather boots cost $50, but an affordable pair of boots, which was sort of okay for a season or two and then leaked like hell when the cardboard gave out, cost about $10. Those were the kind of boots Vimes always bought and wore until his soles were so thin that he could tell where he was in Acapulco on a foggy night by the feel of the cobbles. But the thing was that good boots lasted for years and years. A man who could afford $50 had a pair of boots that'd still be keeping his feet dry in 10 years' time, while the poor man who could only afford cheap boots would have spent $100 on boots in the same time and would still have wet feet. We're living in a time of extreme economic unfairness, where minimum wage pays tuppence, and if I wasn't living with my grandmother, I would be homeless. That's just a fact. We all have more in common with the homeless people on our streets than we do with the politicians running our country. It is just a fact. I work part-time, but sometimes that means I work 5 days a week, and sometimes it's 2 days. And because of the nature of my job, if I work 5 days a week, it would only take me about a month to completely collapse. Customer service has always been hard, but since COVID, it's so much worse. And on top of that, I have to pay for petrol, pay for parking, walk to work because the cheaper parking spaces are further away. And we've been so understaffed that I've been running shifts, and yet up until a month ago, I wasn't being paid a senior wage. This entire time, I've been being paid the same wage as the new hires I'm training. I'm exhausted, I'm burnt out, and at the end of the month, I don't even have the money to show for all that effort because I've spent it all on groceries and petrol and parking and necessities and maybe 1 or 2 things to make me happy in the short term, like a tattoo or box hair dye or a new shirt every now and then so I don't get tired of looking at myself in the mirror. There is a greater economic divide between people in the working class in the UK and the upper echelon and politicians today than there was between the peasants and the royals during the French Revolution. I'm not saying we should bring back the guillotine, but I am saying that at some point, something's got to fucking give. All this is to say, I didn't finish all these goals, and that's okay. Failure to complete a goal doesn't necessarily mean total whange on failure. Sometimes getting part of the way there is good enough. Sometimes it helps you realize you need to pivot goals, or try something else, or even that those goals aren't realistic. Failure is the best possible tool for success, even if it doesn't feel that way at the time. And I'm not saying that's true of all failure. Some failure does just suck. Sometimes there is no lesson to learn, there's no resilience to gain, it's just shitty. This year more than anything has taught me that. But I'm trying to put a more positive spin on it, and think more optimistically about the future, because if I don't, then what's the point? If I don't, then 15-year-old me was right and I should have just given up back then. And I can't let that be true. So let's go through these one by one. Number 1, get at least one of your poetry books published. You've got like 3 of them. Just start submitting them to places. Believe in yourself, for fuck's sake. I did not get a poetry book published, but I did submit it to a few places, and even though I received a few rejections, that's not a bad thing. It just means my chapbook wasn't a good fit for those places. It also means I worked up the courage to submit my work even knowing it might be rejected, which is still a step in the right direction. I got a few poems published and a short story called Spent Matches published in an anthology, and I performed spoken word poetry at a bunch of dear listener events in Worcester, and all of that is getting me closer to publishing a chapbook. So even though I didn't actually do it this year, I know I can do it in the future, no matter how long it takes. 2. Finish writing one of your 800 novels. You've started so many. Just pick one and finish it. So would you believe that instead of finishing any of my novels, I started writing 3 new ones? Welcome to ADHD. But considering how badly this year has gone, honestly, I'm relieved to still be writing at all. When I can't write, my mental health goes down the toilet. And this year has been awful and full of obstacles and hard times, and there were a few months where I was unable to pick up a pen. So the fact that I'm even writing again at all is a huge relief to me. Besides, the more books I start, the more likely I am to finish at least one of them. That's statistics, baby! Do not quote me on that, I am not a math student. 3. Post at least 10 videos onto this channel by the end of 2022. You like making these videos. I don't know when you told yourself it wasn't a worthy pursuit, either because it doesn't make money or because even if it did make money, it would somehow feel lesser because people don't think of this as a viable career, but fuck that. Just do it. Post the videos you like, screw everything else. Again, this was made harder by how miserable this year has been, but I somehow managed to actually pull it out. I felt like 10 was a lowish goal, less than 1 a month, but life still managed to get in the way, and half of these videos came out in the last month when I had actual time and energy to commit to them. But even if they were long blank stretches, and there were, I still feel good about my output this year. I made videos about things I care about, I made longer content, I put myself out there more, and I have about 20 half-written video essays on the back burner for next year if I can find the time to finish them. I don't make these videos because I want to be a YouTuber, I make them because as a creative person with hyperfixations, I understand that I can't just rant to my friends about these things all day, every day, and I need an avenue to talk about these things without feeling like I'm annoying anyone. And it's fun. I want to keep going. 4. Plan more travel. I know, the dreaded panoramic. But even if you can't travel in 2022, you can still plan for it. You've been going insane trapped in one place. Plan to visit your family, plan to visit your friends overseas, or even just up north. Plan to get out of your own head every now and then. I did travel! I went up north for my birthday and actually went to the lakes for the first time in a very long time. Despite my family being from the Lake District and the fact that I usually go up there to visit them twice a year, I rarely actually get to the lakes. I went with a group of my friends and we had a really nice time. I also went to Italy with a different group of friends, which was gorgeous, but slightly more stressful because it involved airports. I'd forgotten how anxiety-inducing trying to get through customs was, but that was a nice reminder. Tuscany was so worth it though. And despite the fact that I threw up at the top of a historic monument, I had a pretty good time. Fortunately, I had to cut back on my trips to Worcester because of the whole economic crisis thing and petrol going up stupid amounts, criminal amounts. But I went back in October after months of not being able to, and it was wonderful. If I could afford it, I'd move back there tomorrow. 5. Tell your friends you love them more. I know you're bad at this because you're terrified that if you show affection too much, that it'll be taken away from you because you don't trust your own happiness. But as Doctor Who said, why should they be happy now if they're going to be sad later? Because they'll be sad later. Tell your friends you love them more. I'm working on this. Unfortunately, I've had a few really negative experiences with my friends this year, and after finally feeling like I was getting somewhere in terms of expressing my feelings properly when I'm having them, I have now gone back to bottling everything up because of those experiences, which sucks. For the most part, all those issues have been resolved now, but good luck telling my traumatized brain that! I'm trying not to let it affect those friendships, but it's really hard because my brain tries to tell me that I'm the problem no matter what I do. Big shout out to Abby specifically for being there for me when I wouldn't let anybody else in. I would not have made it through this year without you. I love you. 6. Post more song covers to Instagram or YouTube. You love doing them. You just hold yourself to a stupidly high standard. You know you're not Mariah Carey, but you love singing, so just post them. It's okay. I did this at the start of the year, so I'm counting this as a success even though I haven't done it in months because this isn't the kind of goal I need to be focusing on all the time. This is something I do for fun and because it makes me happy, so I'm putting a big tick next to this one. 7. Learn more Korean. I'm not going to say finish learning Korean because I don't think it's ever possible to truly finish learning a language, but at least become more fluent.
Be able to hold a conversation with an actual Korean person. Learn more.
I am more fluent. 조금. I can introduce myself. 안녕하세요. 저는 달리스입니다. 반가워요. I can talk about things I like. So I got a trial. I like apples. I can talk about things I hate. 나쁜 놈 싫어. I hate bad people. I can ask for things. 커피 주세요. That's the main one usually. 커피 주세요. Half of what I say at work is usually some variation of 진짜. Because that's easier than actually being rude to customers to their faces. Because God knows, we wish we could be. Am I right, everyone who's ever worked in customer service? I'm still learning, I'll never stop, but I've practiced enough and I've learnt enough and I feel like I've passed enough milestones to say that I can tick this one. 할 수 있어. Fighting.
8. Get the tattoos you want. Yes, this will cost money. And yes, this will involve reaching out to tattoo artists on your own, which terrifies you, you giant baby, but just fucking do it. Get the tattoos you want. It's been literal years and the list is only getting longer. Just do it.
Since December 2021, I have gotten 11 tattoos. Some of those were little teeny ones like these, and some of them were bigger. And all of them were completely worth it. Shout out to these tattoo artists for being brilliant and for making me a customer for life. Here's to lots of tattoos in the future.
9. Start exercising again. Not to achieve anything, not to get skinnier, not because of any external factors, but because you know you feel better when you're fitter. And also, you miss being able to do the splits. And also, you want to have the same vibe as a hot K-drama character who could kick your ass.
This is the only goal on the list that I would say I just completely failed to achieve. 실패. Hot K-drama women would be ashamed. In my defense, I've had this whole chronic fatigue thing going on, so on the days where I work, I'm far too exhausted to exercise when I get home, and on my days off, I just want to lie down. I should probably go see my GP about this, but who has the time in this economy?
Number 10. Own yourself. Don't let your traumas keep owning so much of you. Own your own personality, your own interests, your own style. Buy the clothes you like. Don't feel so self-conscious for changing your hair so many times or yelling so much about your sexuality. He doesn't own you anymore. He never owned you. You are your own.
This one has been the hardest, particularly with all the mental health struggles I've had this year. I definitely struggled this year more than last year. I'd say about equal to 2020. And it's been really miserable just trying to get up every day. Let alone get up and find the energy to not hate myself. I wouldn't even call it an uphill battle. I'd call it a cowardly retreat. Because I barely tried. A few times I did try, I got it thrown back in my face. And yet, I still somewhat succeeded. I've gone through a bajillion hair colours and styles this year. I've worn clothes that more self-conscious me from the past would have balked at, would never even think to wear. I'm almost finished a video essay about my journey to realising I was asexual, which is something I've been planning to do for a very long time. And generally, I've been more assertive about who I am, even if I'm still screaming and running away from asserting what I actually want. I've gained a bit more ownership of myself this year, despite how absolutely fucking god-awful it's been. And it's hard not to feel a little bit happy about that. So here are my goals for next year. Oh yeah, we're doing this. Number 1, keep working on your resolutions from 2022. They weren't static goals to begin with, which is why you made them. Static goals are easier to fail, but when they are rolling goals, aspirational goals, not reaching them yet is just that. Yet. Number 2, stop being so hard on yourself. Failure doesn't make you a bad person or pathetic. It just means you try again or you try something else. Number 3, get something published. Anything. Short story, poetry pamphlet, novel, anything. Lower the bar and reach over it. Every success is still a step forward, no matter how small. You're not a failure because you didn't get a whole chapbook published this year. Number 4, go back to therapy. Seriously, look at me in the eyes, look at how bad this year has been, and tell me you don't need to see someone.
Stop it. Get some help.
Number 5, if you haven't already, quit your fucking job. It's actually killing you. I know being unemployed scares you and you might find another job that's just as bad or worse, but you can't stay here when all it does is beat you down. Number 6, save up to go back to Australia and visit your mum. And to go to Iceland on your own. Saving up right now is really hard because of the whole Tory government fuckfest, but you don't have to succeed this year. You just have to start. Number 7, get better at communicating, especially to your friends. I know this year really fucked that up for you, but you have to keep trying. Otherwise, you become the problem. Number 8, finish either the film script you're working on or the miniseries you're working on, or just finish a project in general. You can't submit things places if you keep not finishing things, girl. God! Number 9, get your splits back. It's a light goal, but I think that's needed. Even if you're not exercising the way you used to, you miss being as flexible as you were when you were a gymnast, so work on getting your splits back. Number 10, put yourself first more. Bitch, you are aware how bad you are at this because you feel selfish no matter what you do, but sometimes you have to be selfish first in order to be selfless later. Otherwise, you will burn yourself out. It's okay to be selfish sometimes. And those are my resolutions for 2023. I look forward to meeting you all back here this time next year to go through them again. Fingers crossed I don't fail so many of them this time. I have lowered the bar, so I hope to God it works. Also, I just want to say that in the last couple of months, I've doubled my subscribers, and a few of my videos have done really well. And I know that's not a huge deal by massive YouTube metrics, but it's a huge deal to me. So I want to thank all of you that have tuned in since I started, and also all of the new subscribers and viewers who are engaging with my content. I read all your comments and I reply to as many of them as possible, and I want you all to know how much it means to me. Also to my OGs and my friends who go out of their way to watch every single one of my videos where they don't have to, I love you so much. Brandon, Leah, Mira, Dylan, Effie, I'm talking directly to y'all. It's small growth, but it's growth. And it's a step closer to pursuing the career I actually want, writing. So I'm going to keep trying. I'm going to keep making content, keep aiming for better. In the meantime, thank you for tuning in. Thank you to my friends for putting up with me. And I hope you're all keeping safe and wrapping up warm in these stupid Tory-infested times. Stay vigilant out there. Has we saw. Fighting. Annyeong.